Hello, students. Back again with you. I can't believe it's been such a long time since I've spoken with you, but I want to go through, and I promised we would, I want to go through just a little bit, really probably only 1 through 6 on this slide, of what happened after the Civil War and Reconstruction. We're going to do something when you come into class called a Reconstruction simulation, where you kind of look at different documents and different little video clips and things to see really kind of how everything shook out and unwound after President Lincoln was assassinated and the Civil War ended. So efforts by radical and moderate Republicans to change the balance of power between Congress and the presidency to reorder race relations in the defeated South yielded some short-term successes. Reconstruction opened up political opportunities and other leadership roles to former slaves, but ultimately failed due both to determined Southern resistance and the North's waning resolve. So the first thing, and we're going to talk about this a lot, in fact, when after you're done listening to this, I want you to spy a document that's called Black Codes. And I want you to really understand what these Black Codes meant. You know, we have what we call the Civil War amendments, the 13th, 14th, and 15th amendments. But those really they weren't tight enough. You know, there were loopholes, and there were things that white people were doing to get around civil rights and rights that African Americans, especially in the South, had and enjoyed after the Civil War. So I'm asking you to also look at and just kind of on your own. It's nothing that you have to turn in of this Black Codes. The Ku Klux Klan, you're probably familiar with it, a very white supremacist group. They were often, they were formed right around the end of 1865, 1866, right around the end of the Civil War, because in all honesty, those really white supremacist groups, I mean, this is nativism at its absolute worst face. And really that's kind of what we're looking at. They were scared. You know, there were people who were scared of Black Americans now having rights because for some reason they didn't think they should. And so the Klan was formed as these radical Reconstructionists. Now, a radical Reconstructionist was somebody who probably was a Republican, but a really, really radical Republican, and they were very unhappy with Lincoln and what Lincoln said was going to happen with the South. By the time Lincoln is shot in April, the war is pretty much over. Lincoln has said in his presidential Reconstruction ideas, Lincoln has said, the South, we're going to treat you like you never left the Union, and we're going to bring you back in, and we're going to help rebuild the South. And there were a lot of radical Reconstructionists who were very, very upset about that. They said the South should be punished. The real question in Reconstruction, first of all, is who decides on what is going to be, you know, like who directs it, who decides on the Reconstruction movement and money and things like that. Are the Confederates going to be considered treasonous? Are you going to treat those Confederate states as treasonous states? Therefore, they're going to have to pay in some way. And then really the biggest question, who pays for this all? And Lincoln said, we're going to help. Like the North, this is, you're part of the Union. We have to help because you are us. And so this military Reconstruction was going to divide the South into kind of like 5 zones, and they would basically rebuild the South. And unfortunately, there were some who just didn't like that plan. They felt like the South was not being punished harshly enough. There was a group of people called carpetbaggers, and if you look at that cartoon there, have you ever heard of carpetbaggers and scalawags? Carpetbaggers would have been northern opportunists, you might want to say, who went to the South, and they were very exploitative. Like they went to the South and they were looking for cheap land, easy labor. Like the South had been completely decimated, and so they were taking opportunities to like get their hands on whatever they could. Now so carpetbaggers are from the north. Scalawags were from the south, but scalawags were often like northern Republicans almost, or like almost like radical Republicans. And so, but they are Southerners, and scalawags were really, really hated because they were often looked at as kind of like a traitor. They were very exploitative. And really considered a traitor because they were cooperating with carpetbaggers, and they were what the South felt like hurting their own statesmen, their own people. So the first six are really what I only want to get through with you. We'll talk a little bit about the impeachment of President Johnson, and it has a lot to do with the Civil Rights Act of 1866. Essentially, Johnson was really not a very good person. He vetoed an act that would have provided assistance to emancipated slaves. It basically was going to give them 40 acres and a mule, it was called, but basically said, we're going to give you land and make it on your own. And he even vetoed some of those Freedmen's Bureau and the Civil Rights Act. So we'll get to that when we get to the Reconstruction simulation. This is really all I wanted to go through with you. The next slide are black codes, which I'm asking you to do. We'll talk a lot about sharecropping and tenant farming in the simulation that we're going to do. So that's it for today. Talk to you later. Bye.